Hello everyone, you are all welcome to lecture number 1021, and today's topic is very interesting because it is related to our health, and it is the medicinal chemistry of brown and white bread. Nowadays we have noticed one thing, that everybody is running behind organic and non-organic. Means organic food products and non-organic food products means natural. Organic means natural. So the brown bread comes under organic food, means where whole wheat flour is used to produce, while the white bread comes under non-organic, means it is not natural, where the flour is refined and where bran and husk and some fiber is removed in refining the flour, and some bleaching chemicals are used to make it more and more whiter. That's why that bread is known as not healthy. But in the case of brown bread, all those processes are not done. Before going to discuss this, the medicinal chemistry, let me come to the history of bread, how it started. It has long history. 30,000 years ago, they started making the bread, and that was out of starch. The ancient people, they started extracting the starch from plant sources, and that starch they were using to make it type of bread, and that bread was flat bread, round or flat, not like today's bread. And that flat bread they were using, but it was hard. Once it is heated on some rock with their traditional method of cooking, and when it was ready, within no time it becomes very hard. So it was not very good to eat. So slowly what they found, that the same starch material bread, what it was cooked, when it is left for some time, maybe all night or few hours, and if there is humidity or rain, they found that it becomes soft. And that softness was because of the attack of wild yeast, because in plant as well as in airborne such type of microorganisms are there which can do the fermentation. So they started making the dough, and they were leaving for some time, maybe all night, and after that they are preparing then they found that it is having softness. It continued, and then some revolution came in 4000 to 6000 BC, and more advancement was there, and they started making good quality flat bread in Egypt and Mesopotamia, means now Iraq. And that was the time when the population, ancient population, started producing the food grain and wheat also, and they started using wheat as the main ingredient to make the bread. But at that time it was not fermented. The real fermentation started after a long time, when we got the crystalline yeast, that was in 1857. Before that, it was in 2000 BC. The bakery industry was flourishing in Italy, Rome. Romans, they were champion, and not only that, the interesting part is that those people who were skilled in baking of the bread, they were known as one of the best skilled workers, highly paid, just like today in NNPC or petroleum or banking sector. So it was the time of bakers. And slowly they were looking for fermentation, and they started using some grape paste, because grape paste and this wheat solution in water, when they keep it for some time, there was fermentation, but they were not knowing that it is because of yeast. So that process they started using, and that was the process they were using even to manufacture their local type of wine. At that time beer was not there, they were doing only wine. So from that wine fermentation, they were enough skill to produce the wine out of fermentation, but fermentation, living organism enzyme was not known to them. So from that paste, they started making very good flat bread, and it continued. And then in 300 BC, it was taken to USA by Columbus. And in India, Portuguese they brought. And Portuguese, in Portuguese language, they call bread pav. And still in India, in Maharashtra, Bombay, pav bread, they call bread pav. So the same Portuguese language is used. So in India, it came from Portugal. Now let me tell you what are the main medicinal ingredients in that. First is, in the case of bread, you have one thing, that is wheat flour. Second, water. Third, sodium chloride, that is called salt. Fourth, sugar. Then fifth, potassium bromide, KBr, or potassium iodide. And sixth, that is yeast. And seven, some preservative, sodium benzoate. So these are all chemicals used in today's modern bakery. So what are their roles one by one? The wheat flour is of two types. One is refined and one is whole wheat flour. Refined one is for white bread, and the whole one is for brown bread. So these two type of materials we are getting from here, and these two, they contain one vegetable protein, very important protein, that is called gluten. This gluten plays very important role in bread making, and not only in bread. Nowadays gluten has become very, very important ingredient in lot of beverages, even alcoholic and beer and some other bakery product. And once we say gluten is a common perception or impression, that means it is from wheat. It's not like that. Many grains, they contain gluten, that is type of vegetable protein. And why they want gluten-free bread or any other bakery product? Because gluten, when it is going to our body, most of the people, they can tolerate. Tolerate means our enzymes which are present in our intestine, in our intestine, stomach, they are not capable of fully ferment or hydrolyze the gluten protein. So once it is not fully broken down, this gluten protein, sometimes it gives some stomach disorder, some bowel movement, stomach pain. That's why some people who get such type of reaction, allergic reaction I can say out of gluten, then they go for gluten free bread or any bakery product. But here gluten, in the case of bread making, plays very important role, because it keeps all those material intact together, and it provides the shape and size structure of the this bread. That's why gluten plays very important role in bread making industry. Then next one is water. H2O. Water plays here role of solvent, which can give you the colloidal solution dough, and where the fermentation can take place, that is in water medium. And then third one is salt. If I say salt, means it is NaCl, sodium chloride, and here sodium we are getting from different sources. Inside sodium benzoate is there, then some other sodium derivatives are there. And the role of sodium chloride in bread, it is of two roles. First, it gives taste, and second, it also acts as synthetic preservative. It will not allow immediate action of bacteria or fungus. It will check their multiplication. That is the role of sodium chloride. And then sugar. Sugar is that is your sucrose, C12H22O11 sugar, and that sugar in bread is really I call it added sugar. And for every human being, there is some amount of added sugar. This is very important to know what is added sugar. Added sugar. The added sugar means whatever our body is having, and if you are adding more sugar to our body, how much it should be. So our added sugar should not exceed more than 35 gram. If it is exceeding more than 35 gram, that is called added sugar from outside, then we are pre-diabetic. We can become pre-diabetic. The reason is that if we are taking 3-4 pieces of bread, from each item we are adding some sugar. Maybe we are adding 15 gram, then we are taking some sweet, maybe we are adding 50 gram, then we are taking some other cake or some ice cream, then again we are adding some 50 or 100 gram. So overall we are adding every day up to 200 to 300 gram added sugar. And why you need only 35 gram sugar? So it means it is really very important issue to know about the added sugar. It should not exceed every day more than 35 to 30 gram of sugar from outside to your body. And if you are taking variety of food which are having sweetening agent sugar, definitely you are going to add extra up to 100 to 300 or 200 gram sugar every day, and that is very harmful. And in bread also is one of the reason, because in bread there is sugar, and each if you are everybody is taking at least 2 pieces or 3 pieces of bread, it means they are adding up to 20 gram sugar every day from the bread. That is the negative role medicinal chemistry of sugar, medicinal chemistry of salt. Then come to KBr and Ki. Potassium bromide and potassium iodide. Actually, in 1980s there was a lot of discussion about this, the use of potassium bromide and potassium iodide, because this potassium bromide, it gives very good spongy structure to bread, and where the air bubbles are produced more in presence of KBr, potassium bromide, and it is widely used for such purpose, and also it adds to its color of whitening. And nowadays even hydrogen for this whitening of this we are also using. Before it was ozone, and now it has shifted to H2O2, and they are used, and some chloro derivative. So this some chloro derivatives and hydrogen peroxide and ozone, they are used to bleach it, to make it more and more whiter. And once it is more and more whiter, means the more and more customers will like to see beautiful and good, spongy. Everybody likes very soft and spongy. So that is the role of KBr. And it was found that KBr is very, very harmful to our kidney. Many people, they suffer from kidney because of the presence of this potassium bromide in the bread. So if someone who is regularly eating the bread, they are at high risk of kidney problem. Then yeast. Yeast is actually enzyme, and the role of yeast is to ferment, and this is responsible of fermenting your bread. And once it is fermented, you will get ethyl alcohol plus CO2, and this CO2 gas is also contributory factor of making it spongy with air bubble, the bread. That's why bread becomes spongy and with very good look and taste. And this ethyl alcohol, with this heat, it will evaporate, and that is also contributory factor. And in all bread, I am not talking from Islamic point of view, but many carbohydrate or some sugary material what we are eating, and fermentation is taking place in our body, and that final product is ethyl alcohol. So here also in our bread, if you in traces, if it is checked, it is from 0.9 to 1.5% ethyl alcohol is there in the bread. In traces it is remaining. So that is the role of your yeast. And there are some preservatives which are used, even just like sodium chloride, sodium benzoate, and some other chemicals are also used as emulsifying agents. So this is the whole medicinal chemistry of brown and white bread. So in continuation, here I have given some history of bread. I have already told you, but all these are now documented, means it is written so that you can remember. Number one is that there is evidence that ancient people started making flat bread some 30,000 years ago, and Australian and European, if I say European, mostly they were Italians, Romans at the time, extracted starch residue from plants. That's why they got the starch to make the bread. Number two, some 14,500 years ago in Middle East. If I say Middle East, means at that time Mesopotamian civilization was very active, and their center was Iraq, and that was Neolithic age. Neolithic age means they started doing agriculture, producing the wheat and food grain. They got the yeast, spores, and were used, and it was found on the surface of the cereal. So from there they could get the concept of getting such type of pores and cysts to use for fermentation purpose, and it was some 14,500 years ago. But at that time, even one process they were doing, I have already told you that they were making the grape extract paste, and mixing with wheat flour in water and leaving for some time, and it was fermented. That process they were following. It was allowed to ferment. Some 6,000 years ago in Mesopotamia means that is now Iraq, it started refining of wheat flour. In 3000 BC, Egyptian introduced refining process of wheat flour and started using of airborne yeast from fermentation. Ancient Egyptians, Romans, and Greeks considered a degree of refinement in baking, and they were involved very much to make and to improve the quality by refining, making it more white in the bakery industry. And I have already told you that at that time the bakers, they were known as one of the best skilled and highly paid employee. Number 3, that is Corley bread process. Corley is one place in Britain, and that's why they introduced one technique that is called CBS technique. And with this process, it was introduced in Britain in the year 1961, and it is a very, very effective today. Everyone is using this technique. And what is this technique? This is very efficient process of producing dough. Dough means that we can say the fluffy loaf, and it is very soft, and this is only produced by that machine, which is soft and fluffy loaf, and that is done by that Corley bread process, and that is Corley, not bread, Corley wood process. Sorry, make the correction. Yes, they are in London. I mean in UK. That is called Corley wood process. And this Corley wood process is given by the name in Britain. Number 4, white bread. I have already told you a lot about the white bread and their chemical constituents. Is made out of refined wheat flour, that is called in Indian language maida. And here the bran and the germ is removed in this way. Fiber is also removed. Fiber is also removed, and by this removal, this bread, the white bread, once you are eating, it will contribute to obesity, because it will enhance the production of insulin in your body, in your blood. And if there is production of more insulin in your body, it will lead towards obesity. So that's why the refined product, not only bread, any refined product will take you to obesity. That's why fiber-rich components are very important. Then brown bread. It is made out of whole wheat flour rich in fiber. And this one, if you are taking whole wheat bread, those who are having some problem of sugar metabolism or pre-diabetic or diabetic condition, it can be controlled. Because this fiber, it will reduce the production of insulin, and it will metabolize the sugar, and in this way, first thing, you will not be towards obesity, and also your diabetic condition carrying extra sugar in your blood will be normal. So that's why fiber, complex fiber, and not only that, we call it glycemic index. So the glycemic index of fiber is low, and others are high. Low means it takes a lot of time to break down into sugar. That is called glycemic index. So is also there, and also it will reduce your bad cholesterol, that is called low density lipoprotein, LDL, once you are taking the whole grain or whole wheat bread, and can slow down your digestion and reduces blood sugar. Here I will stop, and this is real, very simple medicinal chemistry to understand about the bread. And next time I am going to discuss about Fanta and Coca-Cola drink and what information, misinformation, non-scientific information is spreading. With this I will stop. Thank you very much for watching the lecture.